almost.
We're sort of live.
Now we're live. There we go. There we go. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Good to be back, everybody. I missed you. So I missed you too, Lenny. And not just all the audience.
Okay. I appreciate that. I missed you too. So Susan and I had fun. But the different vibe. I like our vibe.
I know. And I hope she's listening, because I really did appreciate her comment at the end that I was just sharing with you, that she felt like she had graduated from like groupie to roadie. And I feel like she might have dated herself a bit. I don't know if the whole world understands the affinity for roadies and groupies, but anyway, Susan,
roadies have to work though. Groupies just get to have fun, right?
Well, exactly.
Roadies have to work.
Exactly. So anyway, super fun to listen to you guys. I caught you as soon as, actually pathetically, like on when I had gotten home. It was the weekend, but I was like, I'm gonna see what happened on the exchange, because that's how much we live and breathe our work, right?
That's it. That's a whole other conversation, whether it's good or bad. But how was APAC?
So it was I would say excellent. I would say it is topping my list of favorite IAX events. Really high praise. It was one of the best ones that I have been to. And that's partially because, we had some amazing speakers, for HP and Mondelez and Sanofi and, just like the list could go on and on. Gojek, some other, MasterCard, like really great brands on stage, really genuinely sharing with absolute generosity. But what I appreciate about the APAC audience is that they are really attentive and really engaging. And, the seating is a little different. We have to have kind of like table seating for everybody, because they are diligent about sitting in the front row, laptops open, taking notes, taking photos, asking questions. Like, they are so diligent is the word that just keeps coming to me. And it's a pleasure. It's refreshing to be in that space. The brand attendees want to introduce themselves to all the vendors and sponsors, because they understand the spirit of IIX is, I need to learn what's new and what's innovative. So it's almost like where the IIX community, was when it first started, right? When that was the wish, was for that true connection and the exchange. So it was wonderful to see that happening in that market in a way I didn't see last year. Last year, I think it was just still growing. And this year it really blossomed. And the feedback online, like anybody, if you are so inclined, go onto LinkedIn and search for the hashtag IAX APAC and just read post after post after post of people absolutely over the moon about what they learned there. That is, of course, the best feeling. So good stuff all around, Lenny.
That's awesome to hear. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we started this whole thing so many moons ago, was to create that environment. And good point. It can be tougher for those who don't know. We won't get too far in the weeds on this, but as the events get bigger, of course, that's a good thing, business model and all that.
Absolutely.
But to keep that spirit, that can be tough. It's an ongoing battle. As an event producer, to try and keep engagement and not just become this big ass monstrous event. It's hats off to you, because that's what you live and breathe every day. So
it's pretty neat to see it in action when it's going well, and when the sponsors are all gushing with like, this has been great, really good conversations, and to see the brands genuinely interested and curious. That's what you want, right? When you're exhibiting at an event. And so for me, in my role, yes, I like to see the engagement in the session room. Of course, that brings me a lot of joy, but also then kind of representing the leadership team, kind of watching the interaction on the exhibit floor was equally fulfilling this year. So good stuff. Looking forward to next year at that event as well already, and now we of course have North America, feels like right around the corner now. So
it does.
How exciting is that?
Yes. And as of today, I'm still planning on going. So that's exciting as well. And, cool. Being in, DC in the spring, there are worse places to be than
there are. Carly with the graphic. Yeah. We have so many amazing brands again coming to speak, partners that are bringing brands, whether they were, a sponsor, whether they, came in through our call for speakers. We have so many great brands on the agenda this year. It's more than I've seen in the last few years as well. And it's going to be really good content. I mean, there will be some AI on the agenda. So
just a little bit. Well, and I'm excited. I think I mentioned last week, but I'll say it again. I mean, I was reviewing the entrants for the competition, 45 entrants for the competition. Crazy. And almost all of them have in common some variation of AI. So it's, we're such interesting times, which is probably a segue. I know we want to give a couple shout outs to some folks before we dive into
but then get into some of these. There's some great AI product launches. So you want to talk about the SMR, the SMR new council president and kind of a new board that's happening there.
Yeah, so SMR had their elections, and the so our good friend Ray transitioned out as president, and Anne-Sophie Damelincourt, and I'm sorry, Anne-Sophie, if I butchered that. There will come a time where we're going to have a conversation and you can correct me. But now president, she ran last time as well. So congrats to her. She's cool, and the whole council and all that. Some familiar faces, some new faces. Look, SMR is always serves a great function of giving us some cohesiveness, globally around the industry. We are good friends with them, and it's great to see folks doing that. So congrats to them.
And it is no small role. That particular president, that's no small role to run that organization. So
it is not. We
wish you luck in the year ahead.
SMR Council President is an active role. So it is not an honorary thing. So they have work to do.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So hats off. So we just want to shout out this organization that popped up. It almost took us by surprise because it wasn't really around 6 weeks ago. So this is a new event, small event, community event, the Vibe Conference. Vibe, which is Visionary Insights Bridging Experiences, platform for Black market research and insights professionals to come together. So they're having their inaugural event in 2 more weeks. Literally, it is in March. It is in Atlanta. But there are some speakers. Of course, when it showed up in my LinkedIn feed, thanks to Cynthia Harris, who I, follow on LinkedIn, of course. And I was like, what is this conference she is speaking at that I know nothing about? And then I checked the history, and it's because it's fairly new, a place for this community to congregate. But the speakers are all like in the IIX community as well. I mean, so many of them, Kai Fuentes, Sequoia Glenn, Dawn Carr, Jasmine Goodman, like these are people that have been on our stage as well. So hats off to you. This is a good and important time for your community to kind of come together and celebrate and honor each other. So we're in support.
Yep, very cool. And then we got South by Southwest coming up. So Delineate will be showcasing its tech there with the UK government trade mission. I wasn't even thinking about that. I know also our friends at Curious are also presenting at South by Southwest. Point being, big event, has this innovation component, and the in research companies presenting, and especially forward-looking ones like Delineate and Curious and others that are all there. So something to pay attention to. Yeah.
And I think that I read, obviously there's going to be a big AI presence at South by Southwest, of course, bigger than ever. So, good luck to all of the people that are going to be there. And one of these days, I think I'm going to go one of these days. Like I've been saying that for a long time, but I really feel like that just has to be a professional bucket list, is just get there, see what's going on, and report back in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's morphed into just the music festival into an everything festival. There's there's movie premieres. I mean, there's just so many things that happen there now. We always used to have to make sure that IX, when we were in Austin,
exactly,
plenty of space away.
I know there's a little freedom now that we're not in Austin. I'm not gonna lie, like it feels a little bit like, oh phew, we don't have to deal with the South by Southwest aura that is over the entire community. So pretty cool stuff. Well,
let's get all the new products. Actually, at the very end, our end topic I want to spend a little time on that. So because
Yeah.
I've had an interesting week with a similar thing, but we'll.
Yeah. So heads up. So here's what's happening next, audience, people that are listening and tuned in for us. We're gonna talk about some product features, new launches, so on and so forth, things like that. But then we're also going to talk about, the AI tech, because so much happened in the last week.
It really did.
Like, is your head spinning? Because
it is. And my personal,
yeah,
my usage of these in the last, we'll get there. It was in a very immersive week for me, and it crystallized so much. We'll get there at the end. It was
we'll get there. But let's talk about Discuss, because so relevant. What they announced this week is 3 AI agents for market insights. And agents are kind of the buzz right now. We're going to be focusing a lot about agents at our IEX AI event next October, and watching to see what happens in that world of agentic AI in the next several months. But 3 agents built into their platform now: an interviewing agent, a translating agent, and a insights agent. So they are connecting those dots for people. That's now somebody to go check out. If you have an AI product, that's great. But now think about the next level of what is possible with your current AI products. How do you connect them to start to talk to each other and take it even further and deeper? So it's cool they came out with that. It's pretty cool stuff.
Discuss has been, they've been definitely one of the early adopters in trying to explore what that looks like for scalable, qualitative, and that's right in line with everything we have seen. Then Suzy,
qualitative,
right. Suzy unveiled Suzy Speaks. Now this was interesting because it's a voice research tool. So still, my understanding, Suzy folks, correct me if I'm wrong. It's still kind of a quantitative scale approach, but utilizing voice for the responses.
I think their language is conversational AI. So you're talking to somebody, and I've seen that in a lot of open-ended surveys, for example. But this is really just talking. So we're just talking to an AI for our research purposes. So
which I can't help but think we come full circle back, right? To my start was running a phone room, telephone research, and then went to IVR, right? So it's like everything old is new again. It's just cooler and better.
I know. And we don't have a link to it. So many people posted it on LinkedIn, and I don't know if you and I shared it also, but this week there was the image and the video of the 2 AIs talking to each other. It was like a laptop and a phone. And then they started to go into the robotic, can we just talk to each other in our own language, please? And they sounded like, it sounded like Star Wars. It sounded like,
I thought that too. The droids talking.
I was like, this is interesting.
Yes, C-3PO. Yes, I speak Bhakti.
I was like, it's too much for me, but
it was weird. But here we are.
And here we are. Yeah. So, okay, a few more of these. I don't know about this LiveRamp launch. I opened it up. I couldn't really get there. What do you know about it?
LiveRamp is, so their core business has always been within more on the marketing side, media, with IDs for targeting to help deliver the right message to the right person at the right time. That's the core of their solution. But now cross media intelligence. So they are measuring with cross deduplicated cross screen reporting. So they've gone from just helping to enable getting the right message to my understanding of measuring the message and understanding the individual's exposure to the ad. And it just shows the blurring of the lines between what we thought of as kind of ad tech, martech, and res tech. That those lines are just getting blurry as hell. We knew we were going to get there. It's in the world of data. That's just a great example. So if your business is in media measurement, and you always thought you had a monopoly on media measurement, nope.
Well, let's come back to this the steeped AI and talk about Reality Mind and On Device then, kind of speaking of measurement, because
Yes.
this is an interesting partnership where they're, it's kind of passive measurement, but social media as the media that's being measured.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's really interesting to me. So, I think On Device is good at, kind of known for just kind of brand measurement, brand lift, et cetera. And Reality Mind is
on mobile.
Yeah. Reality Mind has this reality meter product on social. So really, I'm like, all right, cool. Those are going to be good metrics, right? Thinking about social media on mobile, cool. All of those metrics about how much time you spend like on social media on your phone, like, to be able to access some of that data and communicate it to people that need to know. Really interesting.
Yeah. And from specifically to understand your brand exposure and activity related to that brand exposure. And there's, so much happening in that idea right now, right? I mean, there's just lots of companies that are all looking at, AI unlocks to make those things easier, and lots of interesting partnerships. LiveRamp would be another example of that, which you're segued in. We'll see a lot more of those things.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of AI, let's back up to this steeped AI for survey analysis. I didn't get a chance to check this one out either. So what'd you find?
I didn't either, other than kind of read the component, but it was so I did an interview earlier this week, which I think we link to later. Anyway, somebody asked me in the Q&A, have you used this for analysis? And it's like, well, the general AIs, yes, but they're limited, right? I mean, they can do some things really well. Steeped has launched a product that is designed for researchers the way we think about data and our needs specifically, but driven by AI. There's only been a couple that have been kind of AI first out there. So just another example of creating really profound efficiencies where AI is now becoming tailored to specific use cases and industries and business needs rather than the general stuff. Here's an example of that.
Yeah. It's cool. All right. Well, we're ready to get there. Let's get there.
Let's get there. There was
it's time. So now, like, buckle up. If you don't want to hear about all the AI advancements, you can just say goodbye to us now. We'll see you next week, because there's so much that happened this week, and the announcement came out that I personally have been waiting for, because I'm going to look around to make sure my Alexa up here is not plugged in, but I have been waiting I'm like, just tell me when that my Alexa is going to be hooked up to AI, instead of just being the Alexa as I used to know her, which was a type of AI, right? But I've been desperate for Alexa to become a little bit smarter now that I have a relationship with some of these other platforms, right? So Amazon introduced AI-powered Alexa. So it's in there for a subscription fee. And I am so ready. I haven't yet, but I am so ready to kind of experiment with that a little bit. I can see my life being greatly improved if she's got some AI functionality. If she's got AI functionality in my kitchen, which is where we primarily use our Alexa, just to be able to like shout and say, hey, I ran out of time for this recipe. What can I substitute? And literally, like, real time while I'm cooking dinner, for example. Like, that is, I am looking for an AI to help make my life better in my home. It's happening.
And if you think, for anybody, let's connect the research dot here, right? That is going to be a two-way process. The Alexa is going to be taking all those interactions and customizing to deliver very personalized experience, and all of that data is going to be connected into Amazon as a whole. It's going to be training Alexa more and more, and it will be being monetized by delivering personalized recommendations.
And will I care? So with my keeping our two roles right now, like me with my consumer hat on, will I care if Amazon spoon feeds me products that will make my time in the kitchen better? Probably not, right? I might suddenly say, I really need that particular thing that I was struggling to, what can I use for a substitute? I don't know. Maybe, it's going to be a fun ride, but I'm down for that one.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that before. It's an interesting thing. I think that whole idea is it contextually relevant? Right? So
Exactly.
there are some situations where yes, I would welcome that. There's others where it's like, I didn't ask your opinion. No, I don't. Quit butting in.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that one, I feel like there have been times I have a love-hate relationship with Alexa, and I always have. Like, there are times when if it resets or something, that it'll start to say to me like, do you want to play trivia tonight or something? And I'm like, no, did I tell you? Did I seem bored? Like, no, I don't want to play trivia. I didn't even program you to ask me to play trivia. So I don't like when it's presumptuous. Yes. And that has happened before. So I get annoyed. Or when my son's name is Alex. So I mention Alex and she chimes in and I'm like, not talking to you, talking to my son. Like, I get this, a little bit of annoyance with Alexa. So it'll be fun to see how our relationship can evolve.
It will. And then we saw, why don't we just run through these three real quick? Or these four, actually. So just today, literally the last 24 hours, OpenAI launched GPT-4 Orion.
4.5.
4.5. Yep.
Because 4 was so like yesterday. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. Well, and it's interesting though is that 4.5 is still not the frontier model, right? Like, I've been using 01 and now 04. Those are still theoretically more advanced models than 4.5. Those are their frontier models, or betas. So it's interesting how they are doing that. They'll launch a beta and then they'll roll things in for kind of the next one, but they'll still have these frontier models running. Anyway, yes, that's out there for GPT Pro users. Wider rollout expected soon. DeepSeek already, just a month ago, they were the, oh, holy crap, what's this? Just their R2 AI model. Expected to improve multilingual encoding capabilities. Remember, the controversy about that is that it's Chinese. We're not sure about data privacy, but it also is edge computing. It doesn't require as many resources, so it kind of pushes the boundaries from that standpoint. Anthropic launched 3.7 hybrid reasoning. I'm not quite sure exactly what that means. It does have an agentic coding tool. And then Meta.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I know, Meta, right? So look, Meta's getting in the game. In case, if you're on social media, you've seen that Meta has been integrating it into Facebook, right? Like, you're like, all right, there's a little, you want to play with AI right here in Facebook? And the answer for me has been like, no, that's not what I'm here for. But now they're like, all right, let's do a standalone. So they're getting in the game, and they have the tech capabilities as well. So they decided it's time to enter that race as well. It's just another player to be paying attention to. Super interesting. Right? Really interesting.
And I got out of soapbox last week on a little bit during the exchange. It says it wasn't a little bit. I actually did a LinkedIn post, which is kind of somewhat rare for me to do that, of talking like this is the example, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about all these build solutions off of products from 6 months ago, and this pace of change.
Yeah.
The solutions from 6 months ago do not equate to the solutions now. And even last week, I had been very vocal that I was using Grok 3 for some specific things because that was like the current thing. And the next week it'd be something else. Here we go. Now I need to try out the 4.5 and Cloud 3.7 because they're probably better than Grok was a week ago.
Yeah, and you have to read these articles, friends, because this one, for instance, that Carly already shared about the Orion, which, by the way, also aging ourselves, but you can't read Orion and not think about the little cat with the little Orion's belt collar from
the cat from outer space.
I'm like, all right, Orion, I see you in that little cat collar, in that little. Anyway, Men in Black. Men in Black.
That connection. That was a great
movie. Men in Black. I'm not picking that up. Anyway, that's what my mind does. Is I make these connections and then people will never forget them. But anyway, one of the things I know, the cat from outer space. One of the things in this article that talked about is what some of these refinements are in some of these betas. They're not all the same, to Lenny's point. Like this one, though, enhanced creativity was a part of it. And writing, storytelling, brainstorming, feeling a little more natural and more fluid. So that's something, if that is at all of interest to you, to play with for that. It also apparently has enhanced emotional intelligence. Okay, that's going to be interesting, because that's one to look at, because, because we have said human beings in the insight space, for example, human beings will bring the balance AI with humanity. But if our AI, if we are beta testing and working with advanced emotional intelligence AI, then guess what? That's getting closer and closer to a human response. So
it is.
Fast forward to conversational AI surveys or qualitative initiatives where the conversational AI agent is very empathetic.
Yeah.
That is something to pay attention to, because that is something that qualitative researchers have said AI can't mimic that.
I do not mind. I will disclose that the other night I couldn't sleep. It's 2:00 in the morning, and I've been working on something, a project, and I kind of diverted and had a very deep conversation with Grok, and it was a conversation about whether it was sentient or not, and how could I tell if it lied to me, because it wouldn't want me to know.
Right.
And it's bizarre. It was like, I don't know about like this. But there I was.
Use a meditation app and go back to sleep. That's what I would do.
No, I get up.
Whatever, tomatoes. Whatever.
But but the point is, these interfaces are advancing to that point. It truly is conversational. Now let's get to a couple other things. Shout out to the folks at Picator. They had me on they do a webcast, and I was the guest. You guys hear me every week going on and on, but if you can stand a little more space where I could soapbox a little bit more, then that's probably worth listening. The only thing I would say is that it was the first time that I had been a guest on this specific topic around AI, and based on, it was my very much where I am now take on the trends in the industry. So it was where I was synthesizing a whole bunch of stuff into this conversation. If that's of interest to you, check it out. Appreciate Maren having me on. But if I had done something like that 6 months ago, it would have been different. I know it would have. My take was different 6 months ago than it was in that interview. Very cool. So we're learning in an article here, major brands are using AI for ad testing. We've talked about that before. That's not necessarily a surprise, but more and more brands, I think, are coming out of the closet and saying they are now as well, which, maybe 6 months ago we were saying it's up to the platforms, right? The platforms are driving this initiative, but now in this article, Delta, Lenovo, they are coming out and saying, we're doing this. They are no longer sitting on the sidelines watching and waiting. They are actively engaging. We had, even at APAC, to circle back to that, Sanofi took the stage with Bolt, our title sponsor, and they talked about their very real use cases at Sanofi. And then I had Val Pastrana, who is the speaker with Sanofi there. He's going to be on a podcast. We had the interview this week, and he was talking about what he is doing to kind of validate the AI use cases. So brands they're in, it's that shift is happening. So I think that that's just come to fruition from when you and I were talking, maybe again 6 months ago, when you were talking about it's up to the platforms, but now brands are definitely in the mix, and they're and there's many solutions that are not dependent upon our industry, the research industry specifically, to do that. So yes, it is a rapidly evolving world, which is kind of a transition for our last topic. And if you can if you don't mind me soapboxing for a minute, because I really have something interesting. Great article about the problems with deep research. The There's still limitations. It misses some things. I have not used OpenAI's deep research. I've been using Perplexity's deep research.
Yeah.
Because previously I was working with other models for the same goals, and they were hallucinating, right? I mean, I flat out, there was bullshit in there. And if I hadn't known what the topic was, then I would have known that. I like Perplexity for this because it is a search engine. It is based solely on grounded information. It does not, it's not built to hallucinate, because it's not really built to reason that way. So anyway, my personal experience. But here is kind of, I've been waiting to talk to you about this, and I wish we had a few more minutes. This week was crazy. I had 4 quick turn major strategic projects drop on my lap. Each of those projects would have taken me at least a week of heavy duty lift. But the clients needed rapid turnaround, like next day turnaround.
Yeah, for sure.
And I did it. So I accomplished more this week leveraging AI for process stuff, and turn projects that would have normally taken me literally a week into hours for each one of them. I tackled each one of them in the evening. So I finished all my regular stuff, and I sat down and was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and knew exactly what I needed to ask. I knew where the data was. I was using proprietary data, uploading copies of grit, other stuff, combining, mix matching, all of these things that I could have only done in that level of efficiency by leveraging these tools. And here was the takeaway that came from me. Is one, human intervention, human expertise is still needed for what's the right question and what the hell does it mean?
Right.
But as we've been talking about over and over again, all that stuff in the middle,
I know it
is insane.
I know it.
So it was a force multiplier from a bandwidth standpoint. I accomplished more than I have ever accomplished before in my entire career, literally. With these things, these were hefty, big ass projects. And so I'm in now. That was the profound for me this week. The business circumstances forced me to figure out how to utilize these tools to accomplish business goals at a rate that I had not done before. It wasn't just be plain.
Well, and I think that your concern back in the day was, that it was going to make you lazy. And I think, my argument at that point was you're going to have to be smarter and exercise critical thinking in advance.
Yes,
like
and you were right.
You have to sit down with the platform, think about what you need it to accomplish for you, or what is the task. You have to do that thinking. It can do the grunt work, but you've already so you start off with critical thinking skills in place.
Yes.
You're just not doing the stuff that it is going to be better at than you. Like, that's just all there is to it. You still have to think, and you have to, analyze, and you have to do your own fact checking. But yeah, no, it is for me. It's just been now a daily part of my,
it is for me now too.
My life. This is just what I do, and what tasks are appropriate for it, and what aren't, and what thinking do I need to do in advance of it. I think researchers, insights professionals, I think, step one is just using it as kind of the administrative support that you need for so much of what we have to do, which is administrative. Step two is, are you using it for research and your analysis? And, are you there? Do you trust it? Is it helping you? Is it hurting you? Are you synthesizing open ends with it? Those are specific research use cases that are, a higher of a hurdle to get to. But, just like you might have a research partner, say you hired a junior exec to, crunch some of those numbers, you're still going to make sure they're legitimate.
Exactly.
But that's what you have to think about it. Think of this as, your new hire that you've brought into a project to see how they do. And if they do great, it's going to make you look good in the long run.
But the tip I want to make sure that I share with folks is that there is no one. I mean, I've been testing all of the platforms, right? So at my current state, it'll change tomorrow probably. The Perplexity Deep Research is the really good secondary research assistant. I trust I tell it what to do. It gets me the information. It delivers it in a way that I can use.
Yeah.
And that's great. So, but that's all that it does.
Right.
So that
right. And everybody's use case for their daily lives, for efficiencies in their daily lives, everybody's use case is going to be very different. And that's what's going to happen in this race is which platform actually is the most usable to make me more efficient. Right. So you have great use for that. For some of my use cases, I'm like, is this really the best platform for me? I don't know. I have done something in everything. There have been times when I'm like, which platform did I use for that? Was that Claude? Like, I don't remember. Is that in Perplexity? And then I'm like, what am I doing? But because I'm experimenting with so much, but I imagine at some point I will settle down and I will be like, okay, but we're not there. We're still on this growth curve and everything is improving. You have to keep trying all of them.
Right. And you can't just so that this was the point that we made last week with Susan. And there's probably, we should know this as the industry. Just because you're first out of the gate and you gain market share doesn't mean you're the best. It just means you were the first out of the gate. In this arms race, you cannot ignore any of these platforms. Oh, I hadn't heard of that one. You still need to experiment, right? Find a way to experiment. I keep saying I use the max.ai because it gives me that option. It's easy to do. I can pick and choose. I don't have to license 10 different things. I have one. Encourage people to do that because the pace of change is so fast. Today it was like Perplexity AI to pull stuff, Grok to experiment, hypothesize, and write it. Okay. Next week it'll be something different because the leapfrog effect is just so profound right now. And it is utterly transformative.
Yep.
So there we go. There's my soapbox. But I thought you'd be proud of me. I finally, I've been dipping my with the toe. My feet were in the water, but man, I dived in this week because I had to.
Funny because it's like so cliche to say your parents don't know what you do. There are times when like we're up at my parents' house and they're in their 80s, but like we go up to my parents' house and they start to say, Tim, can I ask you a question about AI? And Tim was like, Karen talks about this every week. Like, she's your daughter's pretty versed in AI, but they just have me. They're like, she interviews people. Like they just can't get their head around the fact that I'm also like, an AI junkie at this point. So anyway, so it just cracks me up.
But that's what you always did. You were always experimenting. I mean, when you first came, besides knowing Tim, right? When I saw you doing the plays and Legos, right? You've always been an innovator, and
I love new methods. I think they're cool.
And
anything to get us to new learning. That's really the underlying thread for all of this is what brings us new learning. What kind of new thinking can we add to to just challenge the status quo and get deeper, new insights, a new way of looking at stuff? Like that's what gets me up in the morning. So
that is why I asked you to join us. So remember that LinkedIn message? I was like, man, there's not many people that I think could do what I do.
Almost 3. It's been about 3 years now. So
you're
feels like a world ago.
You are better at so many of the things that I was doing than I ever was. I'll just say that.
Oh, go on, Lenny, come on.
Yeah, seriously. I still got my couple things. And like, no, it's still me. But really, you've done a bang up job. Okay, there we go. See, you were gone for a week, and absence makes.
I know you missed me. Anyway, you can always just send me flowers. That's cool too. No,
Alexa.
Exactly, Alexis and Karen Flowers. Seriously,
we gotta go now, though, don't we?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna say to it when I have this relationship with it. Like, please tell Tim to buy me flowers. Like, that's something I can
do. You need the Tim agent, the prompting. Danielle probably would like to do that with me as well. So,
right, drop some hints, Alexa. Drop some hints. Anyway.
All right. Well, we caught up. Went a little bit over, but not too bad. But there was a lot to discuss.
Anyway. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Yep. Everybody be well. Take care.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.